Hey guys, and welcome to the weekly docket. Hey guys, good morning. Let's take a look at some cases here before the weekend gets started. It wasn't quite as busy as last week, but still, there's a few interesting things, and I threw something in at the end due to the lighter activity. All right, let's make this bigger and take a look at it. Alexee Trevizo, we talked about her last week, and we went over some of the potential defenses her side could raise and whether they should be considered or not, and could they apply, if not in her circumstance, and some others. And here I'm talking about a change to her mental state due to the pregnancy and whether that applies to her facts or not. I don't buy that it does, but I respect the idea of it. Here she is, again, picture from her motion hearing where she's trying to get her in-person college on, and the judge agreed with that. Since she is out right now, she might as well be doing something productive. So I certainly get that. But again, relating back to, the idea that somebody's mental state could cause them to do this, which could affect intent for purposes of, say, first-degree murder, that can happen, but it's not always the case. And I think we have to be careful not to excuse what's going on here too easily, or we'll get more of it. Hold on a second here, because we got this. Good morning to Texas, to Marcia Lynn. And look at this. So Bradley on is getting sentenced today at 1:30 Central. That's interesting. I'd like to catch that. Don't know if I will be able to or not due to some things going on, but he deserves as much as they can give him, wouldn't you say? That guy is awful. All right. Let's anyway, so back to Alexee and putting a baby in the trash. Here's another case, and I want to say, again, I don't give legal advice, but as a life coach, don't put babies in the trash. Mothers, fathers, anyone, stop putting babies in the trash. Especially stop putting live babies in the trash. I mean, that's the worst. Here we have Jakayla Williams, who told her family that she had placed her baby with the hospital because they had the same kind of thing that they had at the hospital where Alexee was, where you can drop the baby off and there's no consequences to you. Now, she didn't deliver the baby at the hospital here in this case, I think. But what she did do was wrap that baby boy, I think, up into a mattress protector and then a duffel bag and put him into a trash compactor, and told her family that she dropped the baby safely at the hospital. The family, unlike Alexee's family, was concerned for the health of the child and actually reached out to the hospital and became suspicious that that is not what happened. It turned out it wasn't. Now, apparently, Jakayla talked to the police. In one of those things where defense attorneys say, don't talk to the police. Maybe this would be time for that. But again, I like it when guilty people do it. She told the police that this baby would be too expensive. She didn't want to have to undergo that. So, and who wants to take a trip down to the hospital, really? That's a long way to go, right? Why not just wrap your live baby into a duffel bag in plastic and put them into a trash compactor? So again, you can look at intent and all these things like that and see whether there's a mental state issue. But sometimes I think there are people who don't have respect for life, and a baby is entitled to life as much as a grown person, an adult, something like that, the same status as any other victim, and just as important. And I think we got to keep that message out there that it's not okay to murder babies. I don't mean to be controversial. And I'm not saying people that think that, a depression or something can negate intent or advocating that. This is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, that needs to be established, because when you put the baby into the trash compactor live, you need to be looking at some serious charges. So that's just my opinion. And good morning to Scotland. It always seems to have some true crime fans. And of course, North Carolina has deep connections to Scotland because a lot of Scots came here and established a long-running family still in North Carolina, where they have the Highland Games up in the mountains. Here. All right. But I don't think I'm Scottish in any way, because, listen to me. All right. How about Alec Murdaugh? Look, bad boy is going to bad, all right? He can't stop. He won't stop. He's been busted using his attorney privilege to speak to his attorney unmonitored to record junk for a documentary. So he can get his side out there, but using his attorney to do it. Not supposed to do that. And he was busted using another inmate's pen to make calls. He's not supposed to do that. If there's a rule, this guy's going to break it. And now he's lost his tablet and canteen privileges. So life isn't too good for old Alec right now. And the tiny ninjas couldn't be reached for comment. Yes, he is definitely gangsta. Now, actually, he kind of is the way that he ran his life. He didn't care who he stole from or what he had to do to get more money. He was going to have it. So, all right. Kind of a South Pranos sort of situation. How about Bryan Kohberger out in Idaho? What's going on with his case? There's supposed to be a hearing today, but you won't be surprised to learn that that's going to be continued. The camera fight is developing. You get it? All right. So they were going to have this motion heard today, but that's been vacated because the media companies have intervened and asked the court for a different day because they can't have the argument today. So instead, they'll do a scheduling conference today, which is available or is going to be done by Zoom by the media. What's funny is when they were going to have this argument, the court had approved cameras and video cameras for this motion to remove cameras. So that's interesting. Also, the defendant's motion to dismiss the indictment, which was originally scheduled for today, and that's more serious, I think, that's put off until September 22nd. And all these things about biased grand jury, inadmissible evidence, lack of sufficient evidence, prosecutorial misconduct, and withholding exculpatory evidence. That's going to be heard at 10:30, and then that it's going to be sealed. And then they will have the error in grand jury instructions or in the alternative, remand for preliminary hearing. So that's where they ask for the case to either be thrown out or go back to a preliminary hearing, which is what they'd like to do because it's kind of a mini trial. That's going to be on September 22nd. And of course, the trial date was vacated and the scheduling order is vacated. So it's all up in the air right now. Trial photos framing the argument. Kohberger says that too much focus is on Kohberger when they have these hearings, and that internet weirdos are making ridiculous statements. Now, in his first statement, that there's too much focus on Kohberger, I don't buy that, in my opinion. The second statement, oh yeah, I totally agree that there's everything about Kohberger, every picture of him or whatever, is accompanied by people looking for clicks and stuff that just say all kinds of stupid things that, you can tell he's a killer. Look how many steps he came into the room. Only a serial killer would step that many times. He's blinking too slow. He's too fast. He's smiling too much, not enough. And, while body language can be a thing, of course, that doesn't mean everybody who claims to be doing it has any sense. And so I'm sympathetic to the defense on that. But I don't know. I think mostly what you get in these hearings when they broadcast them is the sound of the court reporter typing or something like that. And you can't really hear much and you don't see much. But it is true. They take pictures of the guy when he comes in. There's pictures of his lawyers. There's picture of the prosecutor. And when it gets shown in articles, a lot of time they will show the picture of the guy. I don't think he looks bad in those pictures. That's my opinion. But this is also, I think, more about the defense making all the motions that it can make to create an issue for appeal later on. So if the judge were to continue to allow cameras and stuff in the courtroom, then, they could say, oh, that was an error that prejudiced his trial, which, potentially, of course, that could be true. But I don't think that's happened at this phase, certainly. But there are certainly people who will swallow anything that comes down the pike right away. And so they'll be like, oh, my God, the media is so terrible. Look at them framing in. And I think the thing is, though, if you take a picture of everybody in the courtroom, you can crop it. See this little picture of Kohberger down at the bottom? It wasn't actually a picture of him by himself looking weird toward me. It was a picture of him in a traffic stop, and I cropped it out. So there was not inordinate focus on him in that picture originally, but now it is just him. So if you're going to film things in a courtroom, people are always going to crop that out and get what they want out of it. And people can be made to look good or bad, depending on the timing of a picture, right? So let's see. Kohberger, people are going to say things on the internet, and you're not going to stop them from saying dumb things when they don't have anything other to contribute. So why not just make up stuff about him one way or the other? You can tell he's innocent because of the way he walked into the room. You can tell he's guilty by the way he walked into the room. No, you cannot. If you could, why would we even bother to have a trial? Back on Murdaugh, to hear about criminal inquiries into some of the judges who have helped Murdaugh. Yeah, there's certainly one in particular who looks really bad. And I think it's maybe, as you say here, more than one who could be coming under scrutiny. And, to the degree a judge participated in fraud on the public and on clients and things like that, if that happened, there needs to be significant serious punishment, because of course judges hold extreme amount of power, and the violation of that duty, if it occurred, ought to be met with a reciprocal serious punishment, in my opinion. Sometimes I wish I had 1/10 of his confidence. Yeah, oh yeah, he did. He's never lacked for that, has he? But yes, he also has accompanying deficits that worked out for him for quite a while, but it all fell apart. Let's look for a moment here on this Adelson case, the Dan Markel murder case. So you see at the top, that's Wendy, and this is like lots of lawyers in this case. So you got Wendy Adelson at the top. She's a lawyer, and she was married to Dan Markel. He's on the bottom right. That was her husband. They go to get a divorce. Wendy's brother, who's next to Dan in this picture with the hair there, he allegedly conspires with the people on the bottom left to kill Dan Markel for his sister. And the environmentally friendly hitmen drive a Prius up to Markel's house and shoot him there when he's in the driveway or pulling into the garage. So finally, Adelson is coming to trial, and there's a lot of speculation as to whether other members of his family contributed to this crime or not, but he's the one charged at this point out of the family, and he'll face trial in October. And if you want to know more about this case, because it is absolutely insane, the fact pattern of this case, it's just crazy that all this stuff happened, and they were going to pay him off first to let her move down to where her parents lived, and he was resisting that because he wanted to stay close to the kids, and then finally they came upon this other strategy of, what if we just killed him? Now, Wendy Adelson, she's not charged with anything. This is all on, for the family piece, it's all on her brother right now. But that's what he's going to trial for, is that what he did or not? If you want to know about this case, the lawyer who's in the same county that I'm in here, who has a lot of content on this case, is AA Legal Focus, and she's been on some of the streams here commenting and stuff like that. If you go to her channel, she has interviews with people that are involved in the case, family members, the status of the case, and it's really an interesting one. It's definitely podcast worthy, which I think is how I first heard about it. And I was like, what? But again, life coaching here. If you're lawyers or whatever, so don't kill people. Don't conspire to kill people. Don't, till death do we part is not a loophole. It's supposed to be a commitment. Yeah. Yeah, this is supposed to be about, is the filming of Kohberger going to create any kind of undue prejudice? And I just think the period of time that he walks in and out of the courtroom, if the camera catches him and then they catch the DA doing the same thing, and people choose to show that, I don't see that as prejudicial. But opinions can vary on that. But and more precisely, because I don't think he looks bad when he's doing that. It's not like they're showing this guy and he's in an orange jumpsuit all shackled up and stuff, or he's glaring at people like he wants to kill them. I mean, to me, if I had a client charged like he is, I would want him to behave like he is as he comes in and out of the courtroom, and look like he does as he comes in and out of the courtroom. So I don't think it's prejudicial. And if you don't have current pictures and you want to make comments about the guy, you just use whatever pictures that you want to use. But I get it. And certainly the defense is making the motions that they can to create issues that they can explore on appeal in the event he's convicted, or, the judge may grant the motion and that could shut down some coverage of the trial. So we'll just see what happens on that. I mean, I don't agree that it's been prejudicial, the conduct of the media. I do agree that a lot of the internet stuff is prejudicial in terms of it's absolute nonsense. Now, whether that gets back to anybody in the jury pool or not, I don't have any idea about that. The only way you could stop that for ongoing proceedings would be you don't have photography, even if the immediate media behaves responsibly. If your concern is what people use it for downstream, then I don't really know what the solution there is to stop it, or just ignore that it's happening. I don't know. Here's another life coach advice here. Do not do this in this story. Don't be anybody in this story. So this poor lady here, her daughter was involved in a contentious relationship with the boyfriend, and allegedly the boyfriend hit her through a phone and hit her in the face. And so she finally had enough. She wanted to move out. She calls her mom to help her move out. That's not bad. The mother calls the police and says, hey, look, this guy's violent. Could you come over here and help us while my daughter moves out? That's a great move to make, isn't it? But she goes over to the house, and apparently when she comes in to wherever they are, house or apartment or whatever, she walks through the door with her gun out to start with. And it doesn't go well, and she ends up with some kind of argument with the boyfriend there. And then he says So don't do that. Don't go into somebody's house, especially when you call for the police. Just wait till they get there. Don't go in their house with your gun out. Now, if you are in your house and somebody comes into it holding a gun, right? Do not say to them, just shoot me then. Don't do that, because they might shoot you. And if you're holding the gun and someone says, just shoot me, do not shoot them. So don't do any of this, because now he's dead. Okay. And, nothing's going to help him of whatever happens to this woman. Nothing's going to help him. So he shouldn't have said, just shoot me. Now she's facing criminal charges, so she shouldn't have taken that invitation as legal permission to shoot him. And then, she's alleged that he was attacking her and stuff like that, but I'm giving you the outline as it's presented in the headline here, and she is in trouble. So don't do that, people. Just don't do that. So that's pretty quick, unless anybody's got anything else coming up on the cases that we're looking at. Why are so many people resorting to murder as a solution to all problems? And it can seem like that. I think about that, like, let's take this babies in the trash thing. Is it really more, or is it just we know more about it because there's more media and there's some more true crime specific media and the ability to get the information? These people have gotten very good at it. So did it happen the same before, but we didn't know about it? Or is it really more? And that's also for the general murder rate, because I don't know, sometimes it gets higher and lower and stuff like that, but we know more about it, and they're showing more proceedings in more states. And you pick out the worst of that because you want the true crime people, and myself included, when I do this, I'm looking for the interesting case to think about, and they aren't the ones where somebody got a traffic ticket or jaywalking or something like that. So that's terrible. So whatever. On that. So I don't know the answer to that. It does seem worse, but the news is always kind of bad and stuff. And so here's the person I mentioned here, Judy, the internet lawyer. She's tuning in while driving. And of course she's only listening and not watching because she's a safe driver, but she's the person I mentioned that has all the great content on the Adelson case. So check her channel out. It's not the only thing she has on it. She has other great content, but I only know it at the very superficial level, and it's an extremely interesting case legally and factually. And it's sad, of course, and it involves a topic that I think is an issue, which is domestic violence turning into murder. And that's happened in several high-profile cases local to us here in Raleigh, with people, well, more specifically, the husband killing the wife after a domestic dispute. There's been some big cases here for that, and the Adelson case is, I think, some form of that, right? So, if you practice in that area or you just know people in that area, it's always good, I think, if you can, to help take the temperature down in these kind of disputes, because whether it's the legal side or just how they're getting along, the more these people want to fight with each other and get entrenched, the higher the chance that something goes terribly wrong. And it's best, if you're going to end the relationship, to end it on the best terms you can and move on with life. So, yeah, I agree with this. She does have great content. Totally agree. Christina says she's read an article about Jan while he's in jail, not prison, and that the authorities have some things to say about him. Yeah, I think I would not be surprised to learn anything about this guy. So, there is a hearing for the motion to withdraw, and I'm going off the top of my head, but I think it is next week. And they have the county Florida docket there is where I find their stuff at. But the attorney did calendar that motion, and I checked it yesterday and I saw no response to that, because you never know if Sarah's going to write a letter or whatever. But she may ride this one all the way into the actual motion hearing. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if the judge doesn't allow that to be broadcast, because there could be some comments and that kind of thing that shouldn't be public knowledge. So we'll just have to hear. I would think likely the attorney will get out in Sarah's case this time, because he had already filed a motion to withdraw toward the end of last year, and that got smoothed over. And now he's back. And of course, this motion to withdraw is a little more elaborate, where he says that no one will satisfy her. She should just do it pro se, because she wants an exclusive attorney to herself and all that. So he's gotten a little more elaborate in his motion there for, I need to be let out of this thing. And so I kind of be surprised if the judge doesn't grant that. But I think that is coming up next week. And then later on, they have the motion for the expert. But, that may be put off as well if he's let out of this case. All right. So let's see. I think that's it on her case. And then, of course, there's an update, I guess, in 2 weeks for Darrell Brooks and an update on his counsel status. I did check that, and there's no new counsel appointed yet. And we all may have an idea of where he's wanting to head with that one. I guess we'll have to see about that. All right, so that's these cases for this week. We'll probably have more some real Sarah Boone content to talk about next week if they do this hearing, which I think maybe is next Friday. I don't have it in front of me, but we'll see. I wouldn't know the outcome of it by when I do this next Friday, but I would have anything that's filed by then, I think. All right. Well, that's it for now, guys, and I appreciate it and hope everybody has a good weekend.